Okay, so I ended off with talking about intention, but I wanted to add the last part to it. Is intention is as powerful as being able to remove whatever obstacles are in front of you. So whatever you are resisting from the inside that reflects as a physical manifestation. Okay. Okay. Now that move that to the side. Um, Really, to be able to have a calm mind, there's an energetic dance that happens between the yin, the yang, the divine feminine, divine masculine. Those energies are constantly in play. I use these words. Make sure that you're not forcing, but rather you are encouraging. Forcing for me has an energy of I don't want you to have your own sense of autonomy. Encouraging brings more play because we get so, well, sometimes I can get quite serious off the mat and on the mat. We take that energy and it's just like allow yourself every now and again to just break out and play, right? So it's merging the two. And when those two merge, you have a clearer mind um, to be able to just feel the stillness of your breath, the stillness of the present moment. Okay. Then what I do usually with the breath is say, so sometimes for me at least when I'm practicing and I've been like really going and it just feels so good and it almost feels like I've gone for a slight jog. That's like that. And then the breath is really sitting here because there's a lot of thought processing that happens when you're going for a jog, at least at least for me. So in order to almost get yourself back to a state of home or to a sense of, I just want to say that, yeah, just getting yourself back to equilibrium, I'll use that word, is you'll take a deep breath in, you'll hold the breath as long as it feels comfortable, and then you'll exhale the breath slowly. So it's less of when you're holding the breath, holding it to like force yourself. It's encouraging yourself to be in the empty. And that's why generally being able to close your eyes, I do that when it comes to a standing position more often than not. So it'll be so I invite you to try that. Just take a deep breath in, hold it as long as it feels comfortable, and then exhale, you ground into your body. Okay, great. So, a lot of my practice can be challenging only because um, one would want to use too much of the physical. Now, if you look back in history, if you look specifically at the Kemetic practices, a lot of the practice was to it was for connection purposes, spiritual purposes, present moment purposes, being in your body connected purposes, um, and you obviously have to use the physical body because this is a physical experience. This is spirit having a physical experience. So I said that as much as you using the physical body, it is not a physical practice. But and yet and I remember a fellow teacher who told me because I used to teach hot yoga until I stopped that, and I remember him particularly just sharing that don't judge um, someone coming into this particular class because maybe that's the way I was just talking. I was like judging the experience because I didn't understand it at the time. I mean, I don't teach it on purpose, but that's a completely different subject. And he just said, don't judge it because that's someone's entry point. And I was like, yeah, that's the beauty and the beauty of having different sort of yogic practices like your yin, your restorative, just your breathwork, your meditations, but it's all getting you back to the same thing. So it's not judging how someone feels safe within the invitation that you extend, right? But it's very, very important that at the end of the day, that thing that keeps drawing you in is that connection to breath, a connection to divine, higher source, greater consciousness, the universe, God. That's what it is. At least that was my first experience, and I've had that every single time I practice on my mat. Okay. Um, so I think those are the key important things, because other stuff I was like, talking about like the ego and how the ego can be self-serving, but not when we force, but rather when we encourage. Because the ego also, like I spoke about earlier, it needs to have its own sense of autonomy. So I gave this 2 weeks to integrate, and you can get this 2 weeks to integrate. And it's quite nice to have this sort of wording in the actual physical experience. So the general way and means or methodology is scene and setting is already there. The physical manifestation of the place where you're going to feel safe, or you've decided to be in or held in that space. And then it's almost like intention setting, where you ground. Um, where you ground yourself. A practice that I do is, you go out into the world, and you go out and you have different things to do. I just simply come back, I light my candle, I take off my shoes first, I put everything aside, everything that's like weighing heavy on me, put everything aside. I light my candle, I put water and my essential oils in the inside, and then I ground my hands, I ground my feet, I close my eyes, and then just in prayer, it's I align and I ground my spirit back into my body, and I welcome myself. So it's like I'm actually talking to myself, and I'm like, welcome back home, Mandesa. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to do. So that's why when I spoke about in the first video is use a physical posture to almost like welcome yourself back home, your spirit back home into your body, in order to open, in order to have a clear intention, in order to develop a calm mind, which is a constant practice. Okay, so I have shared. Please share what resonates. I really want to use this as a discussion, and I think just because it's a little bit newer for me, it's also quite interesting to be able to take this onto the mat and use it, and to have almost like an open dialogue, because a lot of the classes that I really love is workshop style, it's interactive, and it's not about right or wrong. It's just what serves you in this moment, what doesn't serve you. Okay, so I hope this has been serving. This has served me at least, and with the intention of you being able to have a clearer mind, or at least being able to want to have a clearer mind. That's the first step. So thank you for listening and taking the time, and let's just share together, and I'll be sharing some more very soon.